after some horrible injury luck and some gritty bullpen performances, the Rangers take game 3 in a 2-1 lead in the World Series. We can talk about how they did it and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan covering this team for 10 seasons, including all 5 as the founder and host of Locked On Rangers. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcasting platform, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Before we get into today's gutty performance by Jon Gray, Corey Seager's blast, and all the bad injury luck in the world hitting the Rangers at the wrong time. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Now, the Rangers have a 2-1 series lead in the World Series. Everything is going right. Everything is happy. I mean, even my dog is here being a good luck charm here. If you can see her on YouTube, I don't know how long she'll stay here. But for right now, as long as I keep scratching her head, then she will be happy. And as long as the Texas Rangers keep winning baseball games, then I will keep being happy. The Rangers won this one 3-1, a nail-biting victory, as it feels like most of these postseason games have been. And the Rangers got, well, more and less than they expected from Max Scherzer, the future Hall of Famer, leaving this one with back tightness. Not a great look for him. Not a great outcome for him. I mean, it looks fine. He's 39 years old, and he's, pitching after suffering a major injury, a teres major injury to be specific, and coming off back-to-back not great performances against the Astros that were essentially rehab starts, but it seems like he had a longer leash. In this one, he didn't quite have his command early on in this one, but he was doing enough for the Rangers to get out of it. And, partially he was aided by his defense and Adolis Garcia with an absolutely sensational throw from right field to get Christian Walker out of the plate. Tommy Pham came through with a runner in scoring position, but Christian Walker was trying to be Christian runner and ran right through a stop sign from his third base coach, and Adolis nailed him by 5, 6, 7 feet. It was not particularly close. When will these teams stop running on Adolis Garcia? I hope they never learn their lessons. It seems like they have never learned their lesson against running against Adolis Garcia, or even Leo Taveras, or maybe eventually Evan Carter will be on that level. I don't know if he'll ever quite be Adolis or Leote level, because both their arms are absolutely sensational. But Adolis Garcia coming through with his defense in the game tonight. Not the best offensive day for him, and he ended up leaving after grabbing his left side in the 8th inning, I believe it was. Maybe that was the 9th inning. But a really scary moment there. He was replaced by Travis Jankowski in right field. I don't know what this means for the series. We'll have to wait to hear a little bit more. It was left side tightness is that he left the game with. A very not great thing to hear ever for anybody. Oblique injuries are terrible. Leote Taveras suffered an oblique injury that kept him out for 4 to 6-ish weeks. Maybe it was about 8, because it happened in spring training, and he wasn't back until around the middle of or the end of April, I believe it was, and he was really struggling. Then turned it on in May and had a fantastic May and a fantastic June, and then the up and down season that it was for him, and it's not in a great way offensively right now. Neither is Jonah Heim, and neither is Josh Young. Not a great day for the bottom of this Rangers lineup outside of Nathaniel Lowe. A great day for him, 1 for 3 with a walk and a double. But if Adolis Garcia misses any time defensively, I think that might even be, it's hard to say it's more of an issue than missing his bat, because his bat has been incredibly red hot. Worked another walk in today's game. Not something that he had done a whole lot in this postseason, but hey, he was patient. He wasn't getting pitches to hit, so he took his walk, and that's all you can ask for a guy, is that they take their walks when they are given to them. And this was just the cascading event the cascading, ripple effects of what will happen if Adolis Garcia is out, not only to this lineup, but to this defense. If you're going to have Robbie Grossman in right field, that is a terrifying thought. Is Evan Carter going to move to right field? He's barely ever played there. Is Chad Jankowski going to play? I think that might be the move, which feels kind of insane, but also just kind of where this team is at right now. I mean, this offense is deep enough to sustain a Adolis injury and be okay. I mean, they've sustained so many injuries during this regular season. Having 2 in one game just feels downright unfair. Like it sucks. It sucks tremendously that it's going to come. It might end up coming down to this. I don't know that it will, but this is a horrible way to decide the outcome. And the Rangers, they battled back. They got 3 runs in the top of the 3rd inning. A great at bat by Marcus Semien to drive in the run and to score a run himself on a first pitch ambush home run by Corey Seager. Changeup caught way too much of the zone. He nearly had a second home run off of Fott, who was pretty solid in this game. I mean, John Smoltz talking like it was the game of a lifetime, and Max Scherzer was actually terrible in this one. I mean, Scherzer wasn't great. He had a couple of walks and a couple of hits, and 1 strikeout in 3 innings of work, and it felt like he could have gone more had he not sustained the injury. Just 36 pitches. He was pretty efficient, got a double play in this one. The Rangers defense turning 2 monumental double plays in this one, but Jon Gray is the hero of this game. He will not be the unsung hero. He must be sung. I will speak about him, not sing about him. This is not a singing podcast. This is not what we're here for. This is not karaoke night with Bryce Patrick. This is Locked On Rangers with Bryce Patrick. Jon Gray, 3 innings of near perfect baseball in an impossible situation. Old Bobby Nightingale, you can pull in a classic Bobby Nightingale and saying about 3 hours before this game, maybe 4 hours of, nope, Jon Gray's starting game 4. And then here comes the media actually talking to Bruce Bochy about, hey, is Jon Gray going to start game 4? And he's like, I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be all hands on deck available in this game because it is so crucial when you're tied 1-1 in the series. If you take that 2-1 series lead, especially in a game with Max Scherzer, who you didn't really know what you were going to get from him, especially when he only gives you 3 innings, granted 3 shutout innings, but he only gets you 3 innings. To have Jon Gray step up and go 3 innings is absolutely massive. And not just 3 ho-hum innings, not just 3, I kind of got by it by the skin of my teeth, 3 masterful innings when he has gone into the bullpen and allowed him to be a 2-pitch pitcher, the fastball and the slider. And the fastball plays way, way up in relief and allows that slider to be even more effective. I mean, his slider is one of the best pitches in baseball. I mean, the velocity on that thing was up 1.9 miles an hour on his season average. It's averaging nearly 90 miles an hour with the slider. Fastball was averaging 97. He averaged 95.7 on the regular season. So up about a mile an hour. The curveball, he only threw 1 of those, and that was up in velocity too. But so many swings and misses on that slider and called strikes as well. He got 1 whiff on the slider and 4 whiffs on the fastball, which is not something that is normally seen from him. Normally, the fastball does not play nearly as well when he's having to be a starter. But when he's getting swings and misses on that fastball, and he's got that slider, and he was just dotting it, pinpoint location, just pinpoint, perfect. This was as good as I've seen Jon Gray ever. This is a guy who goes in stints. I mean, he really does. He goes in. I mean, it was the May of Gray. It looked like it was going to be the June of John. He was absolutely sensational in the month of May this year. And in June, he was pretty darn good. But then he kind of fell off a little bit. And then he wasn't quite himself. And just start after start, he just wasn't quite all there. And he was really frustrated because he said he never really knew what was different from start to start. It's like, I don't know if I'm going to pitch great or I'm going to pitch terrible. Like it feels like everything feels the same, but somehow the results are very different. And putting him in the pen in this high leverage situation, I thought maybe he was going to start tomorrow's game. Maybe he gets you 3 innings. And I said this right when he came in. If he gets you 3 innings here, this is a masterful all-time, like, gutsy hero of the Texas Rangers franchise forever kind of moment if the Rangers end up winning this World Series. And it ended up being exactly that. Now, maybe the Rangers lose this World Series. Maybe they'll win it. And if they do, I hope to God all of us never forget this incredible performance in an impossible situation by Jon freaking Gray, because it was absolutely the performance of a freaking lifetime. Coming up, we're going to look at this offense, what they did so well, and what these injuries might mean for the Rangers in Game 4, right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Score early NFL this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time to get in on the action. You want to bet on some Cowboys football? You want to bet on some Dallas Mavericks basketball? You want to bet on the Dallas Stars or Texas Rangers? I mean, 4 teams in season, all of them playing within 2 days of each other. That was pretty cool. You can go bet on any of them if you wanted to bet on the Rangers to win it all or win it all again next year. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Now, shout out to the everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, I'll be live again on YouTube, recapping whatever happens in Game 4 as the Rangers take on the Diamondbacks. You can catch every pitch of the World Series on Sirius XM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, this was a gutty performance by the bullpen and a gutty performance by Jon Gray in general, but the rest of this bullpen out here doing their jobs. Josh Sborz, an inning with just 1 hit and a couple of strikeouts, a couple of key strikeouts with that runner in scoring position. Aroldis Chapman coming in and giving us a classic Aroldis Chapman experience, putting us all on our toes. I tweeted out right after the single got on, after the run scored, a leadoff double and then a RBI single. I thought, there's no way this game isn't about to be tied. There is no way on earth. I have seen this movie before. I hated it the first time. I really hated it the second time. The third time, I was confused as to why I was still watching this movie at all. But here we go. The 18th or whatever time that I've seen the Aroldis Chapman Experience movie. This one I could live with. This one I can absolutely live with. Coming in the 8th inning, the very specific situation that Aroldis Chapman can do okay, with at least 1 day's rest in the 8th inning. And, he still gave up a run, but hey, he was able to get out of it and get a strikeout on a very peculiar strikeout. A slider right down the middle to Corbin Carroll that I thought, oh my God, how did you get away with that one? Literally just could not be more center cut. And it crossed him up. He threw him, I believe, nothing but fastballs before that. And then he was just stunned, perplexed. Is that? Oh, that was right down the middle. I can't believe I took that. And he did and called strike 3 and then gets a double play that was absolutely masterfully turned by Corey Seager off the bat of Ketel Marte, who you may remember has homered against Aroldis Chapman this year, has hit a game-tying homer, in fact. You might remember him from such performances as the 8 innings of shutout ball Jordan Montgomery threw against the Diamondbacks in Arizona. On came Aroldis Chapman with a 1-0 lead. Bing, bang, boom. Here came Ketel Marte and hit a game-tying homer to send that game to extras, where the Rangers had to see Will Smith start to unravel. I think that was really where Will Smith kind of lost his whatever magic good vibe juju was going the first half of the season. That's where it officially died, was in Arizona, and he just has not been anywhere near the same ever since. But here comes Ketel Marte, hits a ball 114.4 miles an hour off the bat, nearly out of the reach of Corey Seager, but not quite out of the reach of the Gold Glove finalist. May have poo-pooed some other decisions of Gold Glove finalist voting, of Josh Young not being there. Absolutely insane, especially with the amazing play that he made off the ball that hit Max Scherzer in the elbow, then the back, then the butt, and then ricocheted right to him. Made an incredible barehanded play, Beltre-esque, one might even say. One did say, I just said it. Yeah. It looked like Adrian Beltre out there, and a couple of great defensive plays, including showing off his arm strength, the one part of his defense that wasn't great. Josh Young did a lot of work while he was hurt to improve that arm strength, doing drills while his hand was damaged. Like, I'm going to make the most of this time on the IL. Who does that? Who thinks I'm on the IL, so I'm going to go ahead and make myself better? Josh Young does that. That's the kind of baseball obsessed nerd that he is. That is why I think that guy's going to be special for years to come. But Corey Seager is also pretty darn special, and pretty darn special with the glove. Much better. All this talk of constantly, well, Corey Seager's a shortstop for now, and who knows how long he's going to play there. He's going to stay there for a while if he keeps making plays like that. 114.5 miles an hour, smoked off the bat of Ketel Marte, dives, makes the catch, flips it to Marcus Semien, makes the quick turn to Nathaniel Lowe. And the Diamondbacks manager, Torey Lovullo, challenged it and said, there's no way they got my guy out. There's no way they got both my guys out, and was contesting both parts of the double play. And you know what? Replay saw that. They looked at it and they said, actually, yeah, both those suckers are out. That's a double play. That's the end of challenge number 1. I forget exactly what challenge number 2 was, even though it just happened half a second ago. But there was great defense all over the diamond in this game. Some great defense in right field by Adolis Garcia. Some great defense by the pitchers. Great defense by Josh Young, by Marcus Semien, by Corey Seager, and by Alec freaking Thomas. Now, I talked about this a lot in my series preview, talking about how big the Arizona Park is and how Alec Thomas covers a crap ton of ground out there. And he showed it. He put it on display in the 9th inning where the Rangers were trying to get some insurance runs. Mitch Garver steps up to the plate, hits a ball 105 miles an hour off the bat, an 890 expected batting average, went 412 feet, 29-degree launch angle, right in that sweet spot, exactly where you want. But it's so hard to hit a home run to dead center field in Chase Field. It is nearly impossible. I mean, we talked about in the preview with PHNX beat writer about how we've seen 420-foot doubles to center field at Chase Field. And that home run, that would have been a home run in 19 out of 30 ballparks. But it wasn't in this one. And it wasn't because Alex Thomas got a perfect read on it, made the jumping grab a grab, not a stab or a snag, as Clinton Yates, baseball writer or just general writer, sports writer for ESPN, has this recurring bit of stab, snag, or grab about as insane defensive catches, and that for sure to me looked like a grab. It was a great grab by Alec Thomas, who, again, I am a sucker for great center field defense. Even if it's being played against my team, I'm a sucker for it. And that was a beautiful instant of it. I love good defense. These teams are both fantastic defensively, turning that double play for the Rangers, all the great defense all around the diamond. And it's a huge reason why this team is where they are right now. I mean, so much of this team is basically the same as the end of last year, like so incredibly much the same. And just at basically every position, the Rangers just got significantly better. I mean, they had 3 guys last year that were pretty good defensively. You had Jonah Heim, who's always been sensational defensively. You have Marcus Semien, who's absolutely sensational at second base. And you had Adolis Garcia, who even last year had some misadventures, but the arm is always going to be there. It's always going to be elite. It's always going to be outstanding. But everywhere else, there's not a whole lot of good defense being played. I mean, Leote had some massively questionable jumps last year. He's got the speed, he's got the arm, but he even had a few weird misplays in this series, including one against Corbin Carroll that turned into a triple. Now, Jake Mintz of Cespedes Family Barbercast talked a lot about that on his show, about how the ball just jumps off his bat differently. Corbin Carroll, like the spin on it just makes it look like it's not going to go as far as it does, and then it just yeets itself by you. And that, I think, is a big reason why he ended up letting up that triple, and he might end up letting up another double. I mean, it's just the ball jumps weird off Corbin Carroll's bat. It doesn't look like it should be hit that hard, but it is. But everywhere else around this diamond, I mean, especially the corners of the infield, and Josh Young and Nathaniel Lowe, I mean, I cannot say enough about how much those guys have worked their tails off to improve leaps and bounds, like just absurd levels of improvement defensively. You don't see that often. But both those guys, I mean, just the massivest of kudos to the both of them, going from pretty suspect, in Nathaniel Lowe's case, just absolutely dreadful defensively at first base. And he would have been the first one to tell you that last year. And this year, he says, don't worry, I worked on it. I'm much better. I'm solid. And then I remember the first, like, it took me about a month and a half, a couple months really to kind of trust what I was seeing from Nathaniel Lowe and Josh Young's defense. I was like, these guys aren't supposed to be that good at defense, but they kind of are. And they just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And here they are, still doing great. And then you add Evan Carter, a little savior in left field. There's not a defensive weak point in this team at all. Now, that might change a little bit if Adolis Garcia is out for any significant time. You just have to hope and pray to God that it was just some side tightness, just a little cramp, just a little something, just whatever's in the mattresses in Arizona in their hotel. Maybe MLB should look into it because the Rangers nearly got absolutely hosed by the worst injury luck at the worst time. Coming up, we're going to look at what this means for the series moving forward, how the Rangers will end up playing their bullpen day tomorrow, and what they have to do to walk out of Arizona with a good chance to win their first ever World Series. Right after this word from our sponsors. Now, shout out to the everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day on Wednesdays. Yes, today's Monday. Wednesday's show, I'll be live recapping whatever happens in Game 5 of the World Series, where we will see probably Nathan Eovaldi starting that game. Should be a lot of fun. The Rangers take on the Diamondbacks in the World Series. You can catch every pitch of the action on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, Texas is in a weird spot with these injuries. I mean, we all know what the deal is if one of these guys has to go on the IL, they are done for the series. You cannot bring them back, and that would be crushing to lose either of these guys. Two guys that are so monumental to this team. I mean, I can't imagine how gutting it would be for Max Scherzer to battle his butt off, to work his freaking tail off, just champing at the bit to get back on the roster, and he does. He pitches not great in the ALCS, but good enough for the Rangers to get through and go to the World Series. And he's pitching not great, but good enough. 3 shutout innings, and he was rolling with that 3-0 lead. He wanted to save this pen, some pitches, then he comes back out in the 4th inning and just grabbing his back and just cannot make it happen. I know he's just absolutely devastated, just completely devastated that he couldn't go any further in this one. And let alone what it'll say about him next year. This is not the time to think about that at all. If it goes to 7, hoping that it doesn't go to 7, the Rangers can just win, 2 out of the next 3, because the Rangers are 2 wins away from their first ever championship. I know we're not all ready to quite go there yet. I understand we have been burned before. We've been, very close. I won't say specifically how close because it's very triggering for all of us. And if I say it, I might actually vomit. But it's been close before, and this Rangers team is in a good position to do it. It's going to be a much tougher position to do it if Adolis Garcia is not here. Now, the Rangers did tweak their lineup in this one, and Adolis has been the heartbeat of this team. And if he misses even one game, he's going to be absolutely devastated. If he's out for the rest of this series, he will be downright inconsolable, as will this team. He is such a monumental part of this team, of providing the energy, the spirit, the razzle dazzle, the dances, the home run dances with Lily Tavares and Ezekiel Duran and everybody on this team. And it's going to be so devastating if he can't play. But if Max Scherzer is done for the year, which I don't want to say yes, because I thought there's no way in heck that he was pitching on this team at all in the playoffs, no matter how deep the Rangers made it. But he came back for ALCS, and that was incredible. And he pitched 2 games, and he pitched another game in the World Series. And so I'm not writing him off just yet. But if he goes on the IL, it's going to be, I don't know who you're going to put in. I mean, you got some guys who are traveling with the team. You've got maybe Matt Bush might come off. Maybe you have I forget who else is there. It's not going to be Ian Kennedy because he's hurt. It's not. I don't think it's going to be Grant Anderson. It might be. That would not be ideal, especially with how many lefties and switch hitters are in this lineup, because he just gets absolutely crushed by lefties. But I think Matt Bush might be your answer. And he hasn't pitched the majors since July. He's been on the roster, He was even on the roster for game 162, but he hasn't pitched for the Rangers in the big leagues since that trade in 2022, I believe it was. Yes. No? Yes. Yes. It was 2022. But if Adolis Garcia is out, I mean, woof, that puts you in a really, really rough way. And what do you do if you're the Rangers? I think Travis Jankowski would be my bet to start. And then you got to augment your lineup a little bit. Leo Taveras being in such a rough way offensively is really tough, especially if you lose a guy like Adolis for any extended amount of time. I really hope that it's not an oblique injury, but it doesn't look like it's anything but that. And if it's an oblique injury, then I don't think there's any way that Adolis comes back. And that is just gut wrenching. And you really need Semien to step up, and you really need Heim to step up, and you really need Young and Tavares and everybody to step up. And I think they will. They've shown they're capable of doing so many times over. And this is the team that, like I've said time and time again throughout the season, the strength of this lineup is in its depth. It always has been. It always will be. And again, basically this entire lineup is locked up for at least 2 or 3 or 7 more seasons. And they're going to be here for a while, or I guess 8 more seasons, because Seager's in year 2 of that $325 million deal, which is looking like an absolute freaking bargain. I mean, $500 million for those two guys. Sign me up for that 100 times out of 100. Like, it's so many times out of so many times. I mean, this is what you pay for. Both those guys coming through. And I knew Semien would have a moment. I'm so glad for him that he got this moment. He got a pitch that he could handle from Brandon Pfaadt, a fastball inside. They have been pitching him away, all postseason long. And he hasn't been able to adjust and make the adjustments and have success. But this fastball got in, and with a runner in scoring position, here he came, drove in the first run of the game, was on base for Corey Seager to make it a 2-run homer as opposed to a solo shot, which ended up giving the Rangers just that little bit more insurance that you knew that they freaking needed. And they came through just as they always did. I mean, this lineup is full of so many good hitters. A lot of them are just absolutely exhausted. I mean, Jonah Heim has caught every inning of this postseason. I know his at-bats haven't been great. I'm definitely for moving him a little bit lower in this lineup, but he is capable of running into one and putting together good at-bats as well. I wish he'd just be a little bit more patient. Looks like he's kind of pressing at the plate right now. Leo Taveras, he's getting eaten up by changeups down and pitches down in general. He is expanding the zone a little bit. He's not recognizing those changeups, and it's leading him to press a little bit. And he's not able to walk nearly at the rate that he was in the ALCS, in the ALDS, and in the wild card game, where he's putting together some great at-bats. I mean, he's still a very good hitter. But like we know about Leo Taveras, he can be very, very streaky. And you wish that hot streak extended just a little bit longer. And this may be the start of a downturn for Leody, but hey, he's a smart guy. He's a smart hitter. He can figure things out. Josh Young can change things in a hurry. He's been putting together some fantastic at-bats in the postseason. Still an 847 OPS in this postseason. Travis Jankowski, what am I talking about? Travis Jankowski is going to be just as good. He's got a higher batting average than Adolis Garcia, and he nearly had a home run. He's nearly 2 for 2 with a home run and a single. He's got a 1,000 OPS in this postseason, hitting 500. He's 1 for 2 with the single and a home run robbery by Kyle Tucker in right field. But hey, anything is possible. I mean, we saw what Travis Jankowski did for the first half, 3/4 of the season. Now, don't go look at what he did for the last couple months, because, oh boy, it was rough. It was real rough. But hey, if he can come in and be a postseason hero, have a moment, get on base, cause some havoc with his stolen base. He is the Rangers' stolen base leader. He could definitely go out there and wreak some havoc, as could pretty much anybody out there. Or if Adolis Garcia has to go on the IL and is done for this postseason, I think Ezekiel Duran might be my choice to pick him up. I think, and put him on the roster. I think that might be my move, just because of his versatility. I know he hasn't played in months. I know he fell out of the tree of trust. I know that he was in a very bad way offensively, and heck, even kind of defensively too at the end of the season. But he's a guy who has all the talent in the world. We've seen what kind of stretches he can go on, and he has the highest ceiling of anybody on that roster on the bench, I should say, of anybody who can come in there and change a game with one swing. He can do that for you. And yeah, but it's not where you want to be. It is a tough spot. I know the Rangers are 2 wins away, and you've got Jordan Montgomery and Nathan Eovaldi both coming off their worst performances in the postseason for the Texas Rangers, wanting to get the ship right, and I think they will. As for what they do for the bullpen game, I think you got to go back to the Heaney-Dunning combination. Neither threw that many pitches in the last game that they pitched in. You got to kind of hope that you can get some length out of them, and you're not going to use Chapman on back-to-back days. If you just go ahead and kind of end up losing that game and don't have to use any of your top 3 relievers in tomorrow's game and it goes to 2-2, that's fine, because then it's 2 out of 3 where you've got 2 starts from Montgomery and Eovaldi. That is a good place to be. The Rangers just needed this one so badly. They got it. Even with all the adversity they suffered, this is a team that has suffered so much adversity and will continue to suffer more adversity en route to hopefully their first ever World Series. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for joining me, if you could join me live or if you are listening later. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series Texas Rangers baseball.